Sure, here is section 1 of the script with a minimum of 760 words, written in a direct, emotionally resonant, and high-quality narrative style. It adheres strictly to infidelity storytelling principles, maintains clarity, avoids fluff, and is faceless video ready. I asked him one question, and his silence told me everything. We'd been together for 5 years. Jake and I met during our junior year in college. What started as late-night study sessions turned into weekend brunches, road trips, and one of those rare, seamless relationships where everything just fit. Or so I thought. After graduation, we moved in together. We built routines. Shared groceries, playlists, bills, a cat named Oliver. We weren't just dating. We were life partners in the making. We talked about getting married. He even knew the kind of ring I liked, oval cut, gold band. I remember once, 2 years ago, he joked about naming our future kids. That memory still makes me feel nauseous. He'd started a new job at a fast-growing tech startup 6 months ago. I was proud of him. It was a step up, long hours but exciting. He was always passionate about his work, and I wanted to be supportive. At first, he'd come home exhausted but happy, talking about team dynamics, new projects, and a coworker named Clara. She came up casually, mostly in passing. Clara had this idea for a campaign, or Clara brought in donuts. I didn't think anything of it, but slowly, things changed. It wasn't overnight. It never is. At first, it was the little things. He started going to bed later. I'd be half asleep while he typed away in the living room, saying he had to finish something for a deadline. The mornings became rushed, no more coffee together, just him grabbing his bag and saying, "Running late." I remember thinking, this is just a busy phase. Every relationship goes through them, right? Then came the phone thing. He used to leave it anywhere, kitchen counter, nightstand, couch. Suddenly, it was always in his pocket or face down. He set a new passcode. I saw him do it one night while we were watching Netflix. He said it was for work security. Logical, maybe. But the pit in my stomach disagreed. That's when I started noticing more things. He began working late almost every other night. He'd text around 6, saying, "Don't wait up," or might grab dinner with the team. Once or twice, sure. But when it became a pattern, I felt it. That slow-burning doubt that eats at you quietly. He stopped touching me. Not just sexually, though that dried up completely, but the small, everyday intimacy. The forehead kisses, the hand on the small of my back when we crossed the street, the arm around me on the couch. Those were gone. When I brought it up gently, he said he was tired, burnt out, stressed. I believed him. Or at least I tried to. I wanted to be the understanding partner. I even made excuses for him when friends asked if we were okay. He's just busy, I'd say. Work is insane. But I was lying. To them and to myself. Deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I talked to my best friend, MIA. She said maybe I was overthinking. You've been together so long, maybe it's just a rut. She suggested planning something romantic, reignite the spark. I tried. I made a reservation at his favorite Italian place, booked it on a Saturday night. He cancelled that morning. "Sorry babe, Clara, and I have to prep a client deck for Monday." That was the first time I actually said her name out loud. "You've been spending a lot of time with Clara lately." He shrugged. "She's just on my team." That's all. That's all felt like a brick in my chest. The following week, I decided to surprise him at work. I picked up lunch from his favorite Thai place and went to his office around noon. But when I got there, the receptionist looked confused. "Jake? Oh, he left about 30 minutes ago. I think he went out for a client meeting with Clara." She said it so casually. I stood there, holding 2 bags of food, pretending to smile while my heart sank. I drove home, sat in my car, and stared at nothing for an hour. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just kept thinking, maybe there's an explanation. Maybe I'm still wrong. That night, I waited. He came home around 9, tired, dropped his bag by the door, kissed me on the forehead, an unfamiliar gesture by then. I asked him if we could talk. He nodded, but I could see it. He already knew what I was going to say. I looked him straight in the eye. Are you seeing someone else? He didn't speak. He didn't even blink. He just stared at me, completely still, like he was calculating the cost of a lie versus the weight of the truth. The silence stretched so long, I felt myself disappear in it. And in that moment, I didn't need an answer, his silence was the answer. He looked at me like he wanted to rewind time, like if he could stay silent long enough, maybe I'd let it go. But I didn't. I waited. And eventually, he exhaled, like the air had been knocked out of him. His voice was low when he finally spoke. I didn't mean for it to happen. That's the first thing cheaters always say, right? As if intent changes the betrayal. As if the absence of planning makes the lie easier to swallow. He sat down, ran his hands through his hair, and confessed. Said it started a few months ago, when work got intense and the lines between professional and personal got blurry. Clara was someone he could talk to, someone who understood him. He told me he felt pressure at work, didn't want to burden me. So he leaned on her instead. At first it was just venting, long conversations after hours, rides home. Then they got drinks one night after a late meeting. That was when it happened, the first time, he said. Like it was a single event, an accident. But it wasn't. It became a routine. A secret relationship inside our relationship. 3 months, maybe longer. He said he lost count. I didn't interrupt. I sat there, completely still, trying to keep my hands from shaking. He told me she didn't mean anything. He said he loved me. He said he felt confused. That word made me want to scream. Confused is forgetting where you parked your car, not taking your clothes off for someone else behind your partner's back. But I said nothing. Not yet. He described how Clara made him feel alive again, how she laughed at his jokes, made him feel seen. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had seen him every day, cared for him, listened to him vent for years, and now I was being erased because someone else made him feel new. He told me it wasn't about me. That it was about him, about his own brokenness, his own inability to deal with stress. I remember blinking, once, slowly, because I could feel tears pressing at the corners of my eyes, and I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of seeing me break. He reached for my hand. I pulled away. It was instinctive. He looked surprised, like he still expected me to comfort him through his confession. He asked if I hated him. I didn't answer. Hate would have been easy. Hate is clean. What I felt was far messier: grief, betrayal, embarrassment, rage, numbness, all crowding in at once. I thought of all the nights I waited up for him, the times I defended him to my friends, the way I blamed myself when he pulled away. I thought of our shared Spotify playlists, the couch we picked out together, the drawer in the bathroom filled with his razors and my skincare next to each other like a couple who planned to grow old in the same home. He said he wanted to fix it. That he was willing to go to therapy. That he'd cut Clara off. He swore it hadn't happened recently, that it was already over. But it didn't matter. Whether it ended last week or yesterday, he had already chosen someone else over me. He just hadn't had the decency to tell me. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to him breathing next to me like nothing had changed. In my head, I was replaying everything, every moment I thought was real. I remembered our last anniversary, when he said he had a work conference and sent me flowers. I cried that night, thinking how sweet he was. He had been with her that weekend. That detail wasn't even something he confessed, it was just something I put together while lying there in silence. The next morning, I called MIA. My voice cracked as soon as she picked up. She listened. She didn't say, "I told you so." She just asked if I needed her to come over. I said no. I didn't want anyone to see me like that. I didn't even want to see myself. Later that day, I went to Jake's office. I told him I was bringing him his hoodie. It was an excuse. I needed to see her. Clara came out of the conference room as I walked in. She froze when she saw me. She knew. I could see it in her face. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I looked at her and asked, was he worth it? Her lips parted, but nothing came out. I didn't wait for an answer. When I got back home, Jake was already there. He asked if I wanted to talk. I told him I had nothing left to say. I wasn't ready to decide anything yet, not about moving out, or staying, or forgiving. I just needed space. I didn't care if he understood what that meant. He kept texting me from the next room, saying he was sorry. Saying he missed me already. Saying I could scream at him if it would help. But I didn't want to scream. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to rewind to the version of me that didn't know. The version that still believed. I sat on the bathroom floor, my back against the door, and cried silently until my face went numb. I didn't know what to do next. All I knew was that everything we'd built wasn't real anymore. It was a story I had been told. One I had believed, and now, I didn't know how it ended. He moved out the next day. I didn't ask him to. He just packed a duffel bag and left without saying where he was going. I didn't care. I needed air, not answers. The silence after he left felt unbearable at first. Every sound in the apartment echoed differently. His absence was loud. But for the first time in weeks, I wasn't waiting for someone who had already left me in every way that mattered. The next morning, I deleted our shared calendar. It sounds small, but it wasn't. No more dentist appointments, birthdays, dinner reminders with his parents. Just an empty schedule. I started therapy 2 days later. I didn't go to fix anything between us. I went to fix the part of me that stayed silent when everything inside me was screaming. I told my therapist I felt like a stranger to myself. She nodded like she'd heard that sentence 1,000 times. I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity. I wanted to understand how I'd lived in the same space with someone who could betray me so deeply and still kiss me goodnight. I realized I'd been more in love with our history than our present. I had been holding on to who he was, not who he became. For weeks, I oscillated between heartbreak and numbness. I didn't answer his texts. He sent long paragraphs, guilt-ridden apologies, and promises. One message said, "You're the love of my life, Emily. Please don't throw us away." The irony made me laugh, bitterly. He threw us away the moment he chose someone else and hid it behind late meetings and casual lies. I spent most days alone. I reread old journal entries, trying to find the exact moment things shifted. I cooked meals for one. I cried while doing laundry. Every corner of our home carried his fingerprints. The couch where we watched our first movie. The cabinet where he kept his favorite mug. I packed them all up. I didn't throw them away. I just couldn't look at them anymore. I started running again. Not because I wanted to be in shape, but because I needed to exhaust myself to sleep. I played music he hated, blasted it in every room. I danced alone just to feel something other than anger. I kept telling myself, "You're still here. You're still standing." 3 weeks after he left, I wrote him a letter. I didn't write it to forgive him or invite him back. I wrote it to release the words I'd been choking on. I told him I loved him deeply, once. That I would have chosen him in 1,000 lifetimes. But that love without loyalty is nothing. That betrayal doesn't just break trust, it fractures identity. I told him I didn't hate him. I pitied him. Because he would spend the rest of his life knowing that someone loved him completely, and he ruined it for something temporary. I never sent the letter. I burned it in a metal bowl on the balcony. One day, I got a call from MIA. She said she saw him with Clara at a bookstore. They looked like a couple. I didn't flinch. That was the moment I knew I was done. Not pretending to be done. Not hoping he'd come back changed. Actually done. I blocked his number. Deleted our photos. Even the candid ones I loved. I kept one photo, though, not because I missed him, but to remind myself what blind love looked like. I started writing again. Journals, stories, anything that gave me a voice. I realized I had been quiet for so long, tiptoeing around his moods, making myself small to keep him comfortable. I was done doing that. My healing wasn't pretty. It was messy, slow, non-linear. Some days I felt powerful. Other days, I missed the version of him I made up in my head. But every day, I chose myself. 6 months later, I walked into my new apartment. No memories to compete with. No shadows on the walls. Just sunlight and peace. I made coffee and opened a book without checking my phone. That was freedom. Not moving on with someone else. Just moving on from needing closure that would never come. One night, I saw his name flash across my screen. I stared at it until it stopped ringing. He left a voicemail. I didn't listen to it. I deleted it without hesitation. He once asked if I could ever forgive him. I said forgiveness wasn't the issue. Trust was. And once that's gone, nothing else matters. The truth is, I will always remember the moment I asked him if he was seeing someone else. And I'll always remember the silence that followed. Because that silence saved me. It gave me an answer, and more than that, it gave me back myself.